Okay, so this is long overdue, but so is the uploading of this whole thing anyways, though. My name is Cyber Ninja. This is a speedrun of Murdered Soul Suspect. If you're new to the channel, I recommend checking out one of the earlier videos because I'm not going to really explain the basics too much. So I skipped the intro here. There's actually something you can do in the settings to allow that to happen, which is 100% viable and allowed for the speedrun. I did that in this attempt here, and that was actually my first ever attempt at doing it.
Damn it.
I don't really like it, but I do use it if I'm going for back-to-back consistent back-to-back consistent runs. But besides that, I don't know if I ever want to use it. So real quick, a lot of things are happening. I'm going to try to talk over this as much as possible. This is why this is super unfortunate that the intro didn't happen. So first and foremost, this is post-commentary. This was recorded with no commentary. I'm uploading a run with and without commentary, just because. So this version with commentary, I'm going to try to explain everything the best thing possible. So in this video, prior to doing this, my best run ever was 5907, and with this run, spoiler alert, we get down to a 5604, which actually is 1 minute off of the world record. I submitted this run. I uploaded the raw video file, made it private. I submitted it, and it's actually verified. So this is the number 2 run in the world. This is the second best time in the world for this game, for this category, everything like that. I do plan to keep working on this. I want to get it below 56, which is definitely doable. You can see by the end of this, I think my sum of best is like,
Be together again.
I think
What?
55 something here. I know my splits now. You haven't seen them in a while, but my
If you're not here, where
my
are
sum of
you?
best is like a 55-40 something, I think.
Bridge. What
So
bridge?
obviously it's possible to get down to 55-04 because that's the world record. But I definitely think sub 55 is even possible. The only problem is load times. Now, I don't have the best PC, as it's apparent when you watch my speedruns here because of just the recording and everything. If I had a better PC, I definitely think I would smash this world record. But with that being said too, I definitely think it's the world record for this right now is pretty optimized.
I don't know.
He definitely made some mistakes in his run. But that's not to say that like I'm gonna cream it. Like if I was to get a better PC and go for that world record, I think I would probably get maybe a 50,
No, Julia! Don't leave me, Julia!
54-50 at most. Like I don't see it being that much lower unless something crazy gets discovered. Now, spoiler alert, looking into the future here, I actually found I found a clip in this game. So like an out of bounds trick here, and it's in the Judgment House. It's completely hilarious because I was looking for a way to get by a door and it works, but I'll explain it more in there in that separate video that I'm going to be making for that. But long story short is I found a clip. It's just not fully optimized or useful yet, but I'm still looking into it. So with all that being said and done, we're almost done with the first segment here, which is kind of the slowest part of the game. Skipping the intro cutscene actually saves 3 minutes. So this would have been like 3 minutes longer had I not skipped the intro cutscene. But regardless, this first split here actually went really well considering.
What do you mean,
I had a pretty quick out-of-body experience.
Who are you?
I flew through the
Door just...
the dialogue sequence here with Abigail, and that was pretty much it. I mean, this split isn't going to get any more optimized than it already is. The only difference being is if I had a better PC, I wouldn't lag as much when we go to talk to Julia. That's pretty much about it. And then I wouldn't lag at certain parts either. But yeah, this split is pretty optimized. I think in this one I get it sub 8, but there's no way in hell I get it any lower than what it is. If I do, it's just God tier out of body experiences, specifically God tier like getting back in my body. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Going into this run, I knew I was gonna get lower than 59. I didn't think I was gonna get 56. Like you look at my sum of best right now, and it's 57. You're going to see where shortly I saved a lot of time here, there, and everywhere. And it pretty much came down to optimization, being very fluent and efficient at a lot of the tricks in this game, a lot of the movement in this game, and everything else. Basically, if you can master the teleportation in this game, that's already one huge step that puts you into that contending spot for world record.
Backup. Who needs backup?
Although there's not really a whole lot of
Try to be one of us.
competition in this game right now. The last run that was uploaded prior to mine was the world record run, which was like 8 months before I uploaded this one, but not this specific video, the raw footage to get it submitted. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a dead game, but it's definitely not something that a lot of people know about or into, or however you want to see it. But I definitely think if more eyes were to look at this game, we would find some crazy stuff for this game. Now I was thinking about it when I found the clip in, or the Out of Bounds in Judgment House. The problem with this game, even though you hear it all the time, whenever you play a game or see a game that has teleportation, usually you can break it pretty good. But this game, the story is so well done that you need to hit certain triggers in order to progress the story. So sequence breaking is almost impossible in this game. If we do manage to ever find something, that would be huge. But I don't know how viable or how possible that is. So, coming right out of this cutscene is finally when the game actually starts to pick up and we actually start to jump into the action here. So if you can efficiently do the movement in this next area, then you're pretty much, you have a almost perfect, if not perfect, first kind of segment of this game. I thought about it before, and I thought it might be more prevalent to go to Stuart first and then work your way that way. But the problem is, if you go to Stuart first, you're going to have to go past her to get to Baxter's conversation and then come back to her anyways. So it's definitely the quickest thing here is definitely to run to Baxter's conversation first and then come back to Stuart. So right here you see that. I just kind of, I get through it all as quickly as possible. Trying to possess that chick is actually harder than you think, just because 9 times out of 10 you target the officer first, and if you actually possess him, it actually kind of loses you time. So, but yeah. So what did I get here? I got a 757. So that, yeah, like I said, that was my first sub 8 for the my first split there, and as you can see, it was a gold split too. Obviously, it was pretty good. Like I said, there wasn't much more I could do. I think I got it down to like a 756 now is my best time for that first split. Maybe 755. Can't remember offhand. I don't have my splits up on the screen right now, but yeah, it was a good first split. Now this one right here, Apartments, I managed to save some more time recently, but there's not that much more time here that you can save. The first segment there, the only thing I would have did different, and the only thing I do different now, is I run straight, when I come up that first set of stairs, I run straight to that wall, because you actually, as soon as you get close to that wall, it starts the loading trigger for the Abigail cutscene there. So besides that, everything else was kind of optimized. I actually run through the building when I'm running to this encounter with the first demon now, or through the apartment. So when I'm running down the hall, I actually clip into the apartment, and then I come out, and then clip back into the kitchen and come out again. That's the only difference there. Now, I don't know if this is a glitch or if it's just my keyboard acting up, but sometimes if I do this QTE and it gives me S on the keyboard, whenever I go to hit that, it doesn't work for me. So I don't know if that's just me or what goes on there, but that pretty much kills any good attempt that I have going on.
Okay, folks, I need you to keep.
But yeah, I didn't fuck up the QTE there, which was good, because obviously that loses time. So I got pretty lucky with the answers there. They were like side by side, as you can see, so that was good. This one, it took me a couple seconds to identify. I probably could have did that a little bit quicker, but that's about it. It's safer and better for you to take a second and look at the board and find where the answers are, rather than clicking through it and hitting a wrong one, because if you hit a wrong one, you lose about 5 to 10 seconds. So that can pretty much kill one of your runs. This is all good.
Out the window. Gun me down in the street.
So you can actually hit E here before the prompt comes up, and it will allow you to exit out the window at the earliest possible point. So I actually saved 17 seconds there. That wasn't my fastest time for that split, but because I was already saving 4 seconds from the other split, that's just how it added up. I think Apartments was actually one of the only splits that I didn't actually gold on. Apartments and I think Commitment Issues were the only splits that in this run that I didn't that I didn't gold on, which is odd. So this part right here, heading to the church, there's not much you can do to optimize this. I think I do it all. We're gonna find out in a second here. You can actually get a speed boost off of that first after that cutscene. When you touch the ground, if at the earliest possible point you start moving, you can actually get a little speed boost. You get that speed boost when you enter the graveyard too, but this is the only other place I know in the game that you can get that speed boost at.
When you're running away,
Get some water here as I'm going to talk more than I normally talk.
Nothing bad can touch you.
So it's kind of
You can
odd
never escape
that
the
we can only
questions.
skip 2 cutscenes in this game,
Follow
one
you
being
everywhere.
the police station and the other being the mental hospital. It's also crappy because the graveyard cutscene is probably one of the longest ones in the game. So is the Church 2 cutscene. And if we could skip those, that would save so much time off the game. But I'll explain why in a little bit, why we can't, or at least my understanding of why we can't. So here, I think I did it really well. You have to be careful here. If you press R too many times, you can actually teleport to the hiding spot in the back there. I've done that before, and it sucks. It can also kill a good run, too.
Staying in the end.
Here, as long as you have good movement, you can catch the priest on the first cycle. You don't have to wait for him to come back, which is huge because it takes probably about 10 seconds or so for him to come back around if you miss him. So it's pretty important to catch the first cycle there. Can't remember if I had a good cat segment here or not. I'm about to find out. Yeah, so the trick here is if you release shift as the cat's jumping up, you'll actually you won't get the grapple animation. But the problem is there's certain areas like that bookshelf right there where you have to hold it back down. The reason for that being is when I kind of clipped through the bookshelf and jumped down, it was because I didn't time my hitting the shift again properly. So that actually caused me to lose a little bit of time there. I also got a second grab there. So the cat segment was kind of not perfect. It could have went a lot better, but I only lost seconds. So I mean, it wasn't run killing in any means. But yeah, if you manage to let go of shift just as the cat's jumping, you won't get the pull-up animation. And then once the cat lands, if you hold shift again, then you're good. I said this before, but if you actually dispossess before the cat's in the apartment,
How can I get through?
you can actually get soft locked in that window. I've had it happen to me before, and that sucked. Here was the only part that I really screwed up on. I didn't see where the answer was to that at first, so I went the opposite way. So I kind of lost like 2 to 3 seconds there. Had I known, had I seen where it was at first,
So where's your mom, kid?
this split would have been a little bit better. I can't remember if it's gold or not. I'm pretty sure it did. We'll find out in a second here.
Why don't you live there?
All right. You're not safe.
Dialogue segment was pretty standard. You just mash
Us cops find missing people. I
the
found
number
you,
key
and
that
I
you
can
want to
help you
hit
find your mom.
to ask the question while you're mashing right to skip the cutscene. The that was a little slow too, but in the scheme of things, overall I probably only lost a few seconds, but because my last time wasn't the greatest, I think I actually saved more time than I lost there. So. So I mentioned it earlier. We can only skip 2 cutscenes that we know of, and that's the police station cutscene and the mental hospital cutscene. Now, to my understanding, and this might not be correct, but to my understanding, the reason we can skip these cutscenes is because we enter the loading trigger for the next area at the beginning of these cutscenes. Meaning that once we start police station, we pass through the loading trigger and we're able to skip that cutscene by force quitting, and then we'll spawn into the police station because of that. Sometimes, however, we go to skip the cutscene and we don't end up in the police station, and I believe that's because we didn't get loaded into the police station yet. So I think that's why it happens. I do know also,
Now what?
and I have tested this out, that the VSync, at least for me, has affected the cutscene skip for that part. If I have VSync on, for whatever reason, it's a lot more inconsistent than when I have VSync off. I've also found it to be more consistent to wait for Ronan to start talking before I force quit.
Where'd she go?
It's a little bit slower. I know I think the world record holder said he counts to 3 before he force quits, which is obviously probably the fastest possible time you can do. But also, that answer right there is always going to be in the same spot. So whenever you immediately get into that answer, if you pretty much just mash left click, you'll get it. Sometimes the mouse won't be in a perfect position. So usually when I go into that the answer segment there, I'll drag the mouse down just a little bit. That way, while it's loading, it actually comes down a little bit, and I can get the automatic answer on that.
Don't tell me.
But yeah, like I was saying though, you actually enter the loading zone for those levels at the beginning of those cutscenes. So unfortunately, for the graveyard one, which is one of the longest cutscenes in the game, you don't enter the loading zone until pretty much the end of the cutscene, which sucks because if it was the beginning, we could skip it. But because it's the end, we can't skip it. Same with Back to Church. You don't enter the church don't load into the church until the end of the cutscene, to my best knowledge. So unfortunately, there's just no way to skip that. It would be a lot faster though if we could. And I've tried a lot of things to skip it, but unfortunately, I just haven't found anything yet. I was trying to remember if this is the one I got stuck on the boat, but thankfully not. Sometimes I go too fast and I cut those corners too close and I get stuck on the boat, but yeah, no, apartments and taking me to church. I think those are the only non-gold splits in this entire run, but we'll see as the run goes on. As you can see, at that point, I've already saved half a minute, just over half a minute. So if you're fast enough, you'll get that person to spawn there. And it is, I think it's quicker to possess and depossess if you're quick with your depossess. If you're not quick with it, then obviously it's going to be slower because she starts walking the other way. So you'll actually not make the distance that you want to make. So this is pretty much the only part of the run that's a run killer. So at this point, like I said, I wait for Ronan to say strange.
Strange.
And then I force quit the game. And this is where having a better computer would come in handy because it would load the game faster and I would actually save more time here. Because of my computer, I don't save as much time as optimal. And that's kind of what keeps me out of contending range for the record. But like I said, this isn't always consistent too because sometimes you don't always load into the police station as fast as you think you do. And that's what happens when you don't end up in the police station when you reload your game. If you reload the game and you end up in the police station, it means that you got fully loaded into the police station. This part right here is the only part in the run that's actually a run killer. So if I play my run up to this point and I don't get loaded to the police station, that's an automatic reset because there's nothing more I can do at that point. Pretty much if I don't load into the police station, I lose too much time for it to be even a contender with my PB. So that right there sucks that my recording did that. It stuttered that entire time. Pretty much what you want to do, as soon as you spawn, you want to turn around, possess the fan so that it blows the notes. You want to run over, interact with the wanted poster. Interact with the board, wanted poster, and then go back for the clue on the desk. Possess the guy with the computer. Getting the right options there. And then once you depossess him, you want to make sure you conclude before you leave that room. I've done that multiple times where I forgot to conclude, loses a bunch of time. Coming over here, I think the only part that I did sloppy was the possession. I possessed the wrong guy running over here, and I think it probably lost maybe a second or two, or it might have been a second or two slower, but besides that, the rest of it was good.
Speed up, girl.
So here, the prompt that I wait for is the icon right above the guard. As soon as you see the icon go above the cop, that's when you can hit the poltergeist on whatever object. That's the fastest possible time you can hit it. You might be able to hit it maybe a second beforehand, but I don't think that would work that way because I think you might miss the opportunity there.
Nice job, kid.
Don't read any of my thoughts or think anything creepy. This doesn't make us even.
The bottom of the police station isn't too bad. The whole police station segment in general isn't bad. The
Okay, man, get out.
toughest part of this comes up a little bit later when you have to search the office for clues. I think that's the most I don't know the right way to say it. That's the part where you could screw up the most or lose the most time on.
That was close.
I think that could have been a little bit faster had I possessed the right guard there. I actually possessed the left guard instead of the right one, ironically. So I think that was a second slower, but that answer choice you always pretty much start on, so you can just basically mash left click and you'll get it every single time.
You have one new message.
Hey, can you check that voicemail message?
Okay.
Ideally, you want to be standing like right beside Joy when you hit that, but it's kind of hard to get that angle and then switch over. So I just go for standing in front of the answering machine. So this right here, control you sometimes. It has two answers that are very similar. One being matches body outline and the other being matches gun rack. You have to make sure you don't hit the wrong one because like I said, if you get the wrong choice in any of those questions, it loses about 10 seconds. So it's always better to take a second and look at the answers there.
I better tell the girl.
I think I found it.
It's all pretty forward, so now it's just a matter of leaving. You can hit that there, which is the earliest possible time, and it triggers him to go, and it actually doesn't hold up shit, what's her name? I can't even remember her name. This is horrible. Oh my god. It'll come to me later on. I haven't played the game in like forever. That's gonna be my excuse right now. Doesn't trigger the girl, or it doesn't depend on the girl to get there. You can actually hit it beforehand. I think it's actually faster if you wait for her to get there first before you trigger it, but yeah. So that was the police station segment. It was it went pretty well. There wasn't too much I could have done better on. I don't think there was really any. Little small optimizations that would have saved seconds. But as you can see, I'm up 43 seconds as of that current point. My sum of best is 57:03, so I'm definitely on a great pace as of right now.
If you care about the case so much,
And I kind of
find
knew it
your
at this
own
point.
damn clue.
You won't
I
find
could
your
tell
mom.
that I was just killing it.
What?
So This answer is always in the same place. It's always at the very top. I forgot to mention that. Most of the answers in this game are always in the same spot. The only ones, so when you have the word answers, those are always jumbled, so you always have to find it and be able to find it as quickly as possible. The picture answers, most of them are in the same spot. There's only few that aren't, and the ones that aren't actually have patterns that they follow, meaning, so for example, one of the first ones that we do in the apartments, after we investigate the Joy, I don't know what to call it. Shit, that's her name, by the way, Joy. After we investigate Joy's outline there to determine what she was doing in the apartments, we get the first prompt for our first
I used to see this as Julia's final resting place. Now it's just where her body is buried.
our first picture answer there, I believe it is.
Guess I'll be buried
Anyways,
soon.
it has one of two outcomes. It can be top and right, or it can be top and left, and that's kind of what I mean when I say it follows a pattern.
I remember what they used
If
to
it's not one, it's always going to be the other. It's not random. None of the pictures are random. Like I said, they follow patterns. If it's not the same spot every time. But like I said, pretty much most all of them have the same spot. I would say about 90% of them. Yeah, like I said, this is probably one of the longest cutscenes in the game. Even the one leaving the graveyard is actually pretty long too. I would say it's probably longer than the police station cutscene and or the mental hospital cutscene. Those cutscenes aren't that long. It's just the only ones that we can actually skip out of. I'm pretty sure I've tried to cutscene skip every other cutscene in the game with no luck. I'm pretty sure those are the only cutscenes you can skip, but maybe with more testing of sorts. So the graveyard segment is where the run actually picks up.
Sorry, it's been so long.
And it changes, and it actually gets a lot faster. So once we get through the graveyard, we actually get, once we get like halfway through the graveyard, we get the ability to teleport. Teleport's the fastest movement option in the game when you don't have the option to possess. If you have the option to possess, whether it's entering a hiding spot or possessing a human, that's actually the fastest movement in the game because it doesn't take it doesn't require you to aim, and it's faster than teleporting. That cutscene, by the way, when I came out of it, if you didn't notice, you actually get a little speed boost, like I said. But yeah, so right after this segment, as soon as I make it up to the building, that's when I get teleport, and that's when the game picks up a lot.
River by her body. Think it ended up in the bushes over there.
It's too dark in these bushes.
I am so tired.
Something out of those bushes.
Okay.
Man. I'm not usually this bagged, but we just had daylight savings like the day before me recording the commentary for this video.
This is all I can find.
And today I've just been feeling it. I've been drained. I had to work 8:30 to 5:30, and at 4 o'clock I was feeling it. Even I came home and I had an energy drink at 7, and I'm bagged, and it's only 10 o'clock right now. But all right, so now that first investigation is over, this is pretty much it's pretty much on autopilot up until we get graveyard, up until we get teleport. I don't know if it's actually faster to enter the second hiding spot there. I don't think it is. I think it might be a second slower, but I do it anyways. I do plan to run the all cases category after I get sub 56. Try to get a really decent time in that, and then I want to start to pioneer the 100% category, because there's actually no runs of that as of current, but we'll make something happen. So it's possible, rather, it's prevalent to move forward during that little cutscene so that you can get a better angle. the teleports here were actually really, really bad at the beginning of this segment. So that was the only thing about Graveyard, is that the first little teleports there were unoptimized. Even these ones, I think, no, these ones were good. So yeah, it was just that first little part that was bad. The rest of it was actually really well done. So, and it is possible to go too fast here, so you do have to stay behind Sophia this entire time. If you go in front of Sophia at any point, like I did there, she actually will not progress any forward, and you have to go back behind her. The world record run actually teleports by her and gets here and doesn't realize that at first. So he lost probably about 10 to 15 seconds on that. So that alone could have been sub 55 had he not wasted time on Sophia. Surprised I remember her name. I was going to say Rose at first, and I knew that was wrong. So here is just maximizing movement optimizations. I mix in teleports with hiding spots and or possessions, because like I said, possessions and hiding spots are actually the fastest possible movements, and then teleports are next, and then obviously running is after that. So you always want to try to teleport anywhere you go, unless you have the option to enter a hiding spot or possess someone.
About my mom? Memory residue or something?
Sorry, kid. And it's a good thing you didn't see what he did to the girl. This guy is... he's sadistic. One weird thing is that he confronted the girl about a...
It's funny because we get teleport, which makes this game a lot faster, but just before we get out of this segment, we hit this long-ass cutscene.
Another case, possible Bell killer survivor.
Like I said before, if we could skip these cutscenes, that would be huge. We would save probably about 2 minutes per cutscene here.
Persecution and a contract.
Again. Where does
Maybe even 3 minutes for this part.
Just says Lux Eterna. Is it a place?
Yeah.
The only thing I haven't tried yet, because I don't think it's viable, but I do want to try it, is dying on the same frame that I enter this cutscene. Because I'm thinking maybe if I die, that would do something. But like I said prior, the reason we can't skip certain cutscenes is because of the loading trigger, right? And if we enter this cutscene and then die, like you would do in some games, for example, Legend of Zelda, when you doing skips in OOT or, you know, any other game where that's viable. I don't think that's viable here because, like I said, the trigger for whatever action we're trying to assume here at this, in this one specifically, it's entering the next area, doesn't happen until the end of the cutscene. So I don't think it would actually work, but I do want to try that. If we could somehow sequence break at any point in the game, it would probably be now. If we could leave the graveyard with teleport and then somehow get into Judgment House and things be loaded there, then we could skip, you know, 20 minutes of this game. But unfortunately, that's just not possible. Or at least there's no way to do it as of current.
I'm sorry, Juliet. I am.
That would make this game extremely crazy if you could, especially for any percent, right?
Don't worry, bro. She already knows.
So coming out of here, it's important to optimize your movement, just like everywhere else, obviously. And like I was talking about before, you have to know to make sure you're teleporting, but you're also possessing as well. And you have to know where to run. Sometimes you can get stuck in a spot where your teleport just won't work, and you have to know to move up from there. I have seen a couple different speedruns where they start off further up, so I'm not sure if you get control of Ronan prior to that cutscene ending, which is definitely probably what happens there, but I don't know if it's actually any faster. So here's the second force quit of the game. Another major trick. Now this one specifically, I wait till he says mental and then I force quit. But this one specifically, I've never had trouble with. Every time I do this force quit, I always load into the mental hospital. But whenever I do the police station force quit, I would say it's about 60% of the time I load in, and then the other 40% I end up back at the church, which again wastes probably about a minute. So that's a run killer. But yeah, I never worry about this one. I always know I'm going to load into the mental hospital. This is another major thing too. If we could find a way to skip escorting Joy to God, what's her name?
Kiddo, I hate being here.
Tight kid.
Rose's sister.
Eyes on her computer screen.
Iris. There it is. It's right in front of my face. If we could skip
Joy, she's scheduled for electroshock.
leading Joy to Iris, it would save time. Now, really important right there. If you don't stay like pretty much right by Joy, she doesn't move forward. But the problem is you can't just stand by Joy, so you pretty much have to run around by her, and that will trigger her to move at the earliest possible time. And then for getting her past these parts, you have to wait until she stops. For that first camera, you have to be on that side of the door, and you have to wait for her to stop. If you do it any quicker, it pretty much has to be perfect. Same with that one there. You're pretty much better off just waiting for her to stop before you do anything. Again, same thing here. I was going to teleport over there and line that up this way, but I ended up deciding against that. So this is a glitch you can do here. You can actually teleport behind the goo, and as long as you hit the QTE properly, you can make it over here. Now, if you make it over here without Joy, this next area, you'll enter the cutscene, but the next area isn't loaded. So this is all not there because Joy is the trigger for loading all of this. The problem with that is there's no way to get by that door, which is impossible as a ghost. And I've tried for hours. There's nothing I can do to maneuver around it. But I think even if I was to find a way, I think the problem is you still need Joy to go up ahead because, again, Joy's the trigger for pretty much everything in this level. So that was all standard. I had a little rough time getting to the cat, but besides that, it wasn't too bad. This was a little bit slow. I ended up opting to do that because it was just faster than trying to do what the world record did, which he just teleports on top of all the rails and then goes over from there. But I got it to work for me, so that's all that matters.
I better find you.
The only thing that you could do faster here, which I found out after this run, is if you mash R the same time you're mashing the skip cutscene button, you can actually just exit the cutscene and go right into possession of her. That last word puzzle that we just seen was the first example of getting really bad luck. I've caught it, but I've missed it before. So Belle and Burned at the Stake were actually, the answers were atop of one another. I had that happen in the last run I posted when I was at the museum, actually, and I lost a little bit of time because I could not see Sophia. No, it was Rose behind Burned at the Stake. So here, I don't think it really matters which direction you go. I like to go that way, preferably going counterclockwise to that room, but you can go clockwise to that room too, as long as you choose one way or the other. If you go at it kind of randomly, then nothing happens. There, that same spot, it's the same thing as before. You have to be outside of the door to trigger her to move forward, but you can't just be standing there. So pretty much if you just kind of run around outside that door, close to the door as possible, then you'll get them to trigger movement at the earliest possible time. And as soon as you see her stop at that wall, you know she's going to come. And the way you can tell too is if you look at the objective marker on Joy, it's actually counting down, meaning she's getting closer. So that was the mental hospital. Overall, I would say that was pretty good. It went pretty well. No issues, I don't think. The only thing that could have went better in this run was the
let's figure this out.
after we split up from Joy.
Alright. So what do you know about
Like I
this
said, I had like a little, the getting to the cat was a little slow is what I'm trying to say.
So he just asked you if you knew
This
about
answer
the
coming up
contract.
ahead is always in the same spot. It's always directly to the top of the screen of where your mouse is. So all you have to do is move your mouse up as soon as you start the answer, and then you just click it.
Demon.
We did nothing to him. He had no reason to go after us the way he did.
The way he did. He drowns one girl and burns another. And where have I seen that stake before? That's it.
All right, so that's the mental hospital segment there. And at this point, I'm saving a minute already. So, like I said, I mean, I'm looking at the sum of best, and I'm at 56:39. So I definitely knew it was going to be a really good run. This part's really unfortunate. It was just my computer trying to load the game as I was trying to record at the same time. And also that was pretty bad too. I got stuck behind the water fountain. But I made up for it with a decently long teleport to the gate. So it's bittersweet.
Fitting for an investigation.
This is one of the shortest
serial
cutscenes in the
killer.
game, which is nice
All these
because
murders have
with
whipped
all the
this
other
town
long
into a
cutscenes,
frenzy.
it's nice to not have
Now it
to
all
wait
leads
like
here
2
to a
minutes per
gallery
cutscene,
celebrating
right?
A time when Salem found itself swept up.
Especially
in
when
a
you can't
whirlwind
skip
of
these ones.
hysteria.
This is one of the ones I didn't try to skip because it's just, like I said, it's fast.
Gather round and bear.
Even my movement here, I think, was pretty well done. I don't remember it too much. Yeah. So there's one of the those moments you have to realize it was faster for me to run over there than it was to try to line up the teleport and hit the teleport. Ideally, I would have teleported right to the painting, but so yeah, this one you have to be careful because, like I said, Burn to Death and Rose can be like over top of one another. I've had that happen before. And also, you have to remember the names. So Rose is always the one who got burned by the stake. Sophia is always the one that got drowned. It's important because obviously it's the answers, right? So
the Bell killer used torture.
now I used to be really crappy at this train skip. I've actually got a lot better. I'm a lot more consistent. I would say I probably skipped the train first try 4 out of 5 times with the setup you're going to see here. But it's still kind of sketchy. I still hate doing this. This one was really sketchy because I didn't teleport far enough forward like I thought it was. But thankfully, I was literally right beside the corner, so I was able to just kind of run around the corner. But ideally, I would have teleported to the little hole, wait for the first train to pass, and then I would have teleported, and at that second teleport, I would have been on the stairs, and then I would have turned around and teleport. But at least I didn't die, so I was still at a good contending. That was a little sloppy there, but I mean, it was still faster than what I had before, so it didn't really matter too much. These answers are always in the same spot. It's always down, left, up. You don't have to hit it in that order. You can go up, left, down, whatever you feel comfortable with.
That's insane.
Again, that's one of the ones I would either go up, left, down, or down, left, up. I wouldn't go left and then down, up, or whichever way. Same thing for this one. Well, actually, no. This one will be flipped sometimes. So sometimes you'll get it up, down, and right, or you'll get up, down, and left.
All right.
But again,
Found the killer's
it's a pattern, so it's either one or the other. It will never be anything else. That kind of sucked there, but I lost maybe a second at that. So the demon actually got in my way there, so that was unfortunate. But besides that, it wasn't too bad. Movement getting out of here was actually pretty good, so I damn near almost saved 2 minutes at that point alone, so. But yes, alas, this next cutscene. If we could skip this cutscene somehow, this segment would probably only be 2 minutes long. But because we can't, the segment's about 4.5 minutes long. And I say roughly because you can get, my best is 426. That's not to say it can't get any lower. It's just, that's what my best one can be. My best one has been, rather. It's also important to remember which way to go. You pretty much go in a circle while you travel across the map here. So it is possible to keep going straight and teleport past that building, as I did in my last run, I believe. The last run I posted. I just don't know if it's faster, and because I was on such a good pace at this point, I didn't want to try it out. If it is faster, it's probably only a second faster, but here the only thing I could have did different is enter the hiding spots there. Even there too, I should have entered the hiding spots because I would have got up here a lot quicker. Would have saved about 3 to 5 seconds probably. So yeah, this is the last long cutscene of the game. Actually, that's a lie. There's this one, and then there's the one coming out of the church, and then that's it for the long cutscenes. But yeah, this one's probably about 2 minutes, and the one coming out's like 3 minutes long.
Personal.
So hell, without cutscenes, this game would only be like a half hour long. Speedrun-wise, anyways.
Thank God you're okay.
But yes, this is the only major glitch in the game. It's not hard to execute. It's just you need to learn a setup for it. There's a couple different ways you can do it. I opt to do the same route that the world record does because it's just easier to set it up from that angle. But I originally learned it from the other side, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. The only problem is I can't set it up from the other side when I'm being chased by a demon, just because for whatever reason I can't find the right angle before I get killed by the demon. So instead I do the same strat as the world record, which is probably more optimal because I know the exact location to look, and it's just faster.
I mean, honestly, have you ever seen anything like this?
Half this stuff feels like a goddamn riddle.
I don't know. It just seems so demented.
Demented. I gotta find this crime scene before they cart away all the evidence.
Alright, so coming out of here, you want to make your way to the left as fast as possible. As soon as you do that, you want to hug this left wall, and you want to aim pretty much right at that window. As soon as you do that, you'll get the QTE prompt. If you do it successfully, you'll actually have not loaded this area because you're not supposed to be able to pass that side, so you'll be able to do that. Now, this I did a little bit slow. However, if you mash E there quick enough, you can actually skip that cutscene and you'll go straight into this right here, and it will glitch out the game. But you'll save about 3 seconds or so. It's actually really hard to do. I've only ever done it twice, but it is possible.
That's it. The killer's
The only other thing that's important is coming out of here. You have to make sure you don't hit the cutscene for that next area, because if you do, then you lose about 5 seconds. So that sucks. And the cutscene is pretty finicky, so you pretty much want to teleport directly to that door. And then coming out, you just want to leave as fast as possible. I didn't realize it at this point. I know it now. You can't teleport in that area of the church. So as soon as you get to that door, you just want to run straight to the door. I probably could have saved a second there if I did it. But I'm already up 2 minutes and 25 seconds. My sum of best is 5607. So I knew this was just going to kill it.
Do some ghost thing and get me out of this.
But like I said, this is a long-ass cutscene too.
Trust me. You're better
My
off
best
this way.
time for this segment is 5 minutes and 53 seconds. But if this cutscene wasn't there, it'd be like
What
2 minutes and
happened
53
then?
seconds.
He didn't suffer.
You're lying.
Now,
I'd protect
like I was
the
talking
innocent
about
people, that's
before,
all.
I actually found a way to do an out of bounds in Judgment House, which skips having to go through the house. You can literally, at the beginning of the house, there's a wall set up that I'm going to do a whole other video for to show you guys. But there's a wall set up where you can get onto this ledge, and then you can teleport out of bounds, and it will actually give you accessibility to teleport through a wall to the floor down below.
That's what I thought.
And I was trying to figure a way to skip this door that's at the beginning of the mansion, because the door at the beginning of the mansion is actually the door you come out of when you go through the mansion. So I figured if you could skip that door, you can go straight to the basement, do the stuff in the basement, and then come out, and you'd save probably about a minute
Where are you going?
through the entire house, right? The problem is nothing in the house triggers until
Probably the killer's place.
you go to
Okay, I'll try.
the room in the top right of the mansion. So unfortunately, you still have to go to that room in the top right anyways, which makes the out of bounds obsolete, because if you have to go to that room anyways, it's actually quicker to do it the regular way, intended way than going back, because if you go back you have to set up, teleport back down, and it might be a second faster if you do it absolutely perfect. Here I did correctly. I utilized all that stuff. It would have been quicker for me to enter the hiding spot there and there, but only by a second. So I didn't lose major time not doing it. It's just something you have to keep in mind. Now I'm curious as to if I enter the hiding spots at the end. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I did. Okay, cool. So it's quicker to do that. However, it's not quicker to try to teleport to that gate, so I wouldn't recommend it. I wasn't thinking properly there. I should have just ran to the gate.
I always heard this place was such an interesting museum back in
It was at this point I didn't know
place propped up by rusty
if I was going to
nails and
record or not, because I knew there was only a
Place
couple
you
minutes
wouldn't
left in the
dare be the
run.
worst enemy
So I was like,
known
shit,
to.
this has a really good potential to this has potential to world record, because I knew there was like the last couple segments of the run only take a couple minutes.
There it is, Judgment
And
House.
at this point I was at 51 minutes and my sum of best was 56.
Abandoned places and
So I couldn't tell if I was going to world record or not. I was able to tell after this, but that didn't slow me down any less. I still wanted a really good time, so I still pushed and I got a really good time. But yes, Judgment House. It's pretty quick. It's pretty straightforward. Not too much going here. As long as you don't die to the demons, which I've gotten consistently good at not dying now, then you're fine. But that door that's literally right in front of us, it was the one I was trying to skip, and you'll see that in the next video I post. So this room right here is the trigger for everything else in the mansion. Nothing else loads in the mansion unless you enter this room, which is super unfortunate. And even if I was to find a way to out of bounds in that room, it wouldn't matter, because I'd have to hit the next trigger, which is Baxter down in the basement. So I wouldn't be able to drop down. I'd have to come this way anyways. So I thought I found something useful, and maybe I did
Killed you.
upon further investigation, but as of right now, it's nothing I can use. However, I did find that if I out of bounds and then go downstairs, I can actually come back upstairs in a different area and be like half and half through the floor. But yeah, so that was a little bit sloppy there, but only a second. This is actually the only part in the game where you have to get the clues in the correct order when you answer it. So not the word puzzle, but the picture puzzle.
You claim righteousness.
If you don't select the right picture answers in the right order, it actually won't accept it. That was another instance of me just making sure I was going to select the right options there. So yes, you have to always select Richest Man, Imprisoned Abigail, and Symbol in the Cell in that order. If you don't do it in that order, it doesn't count. I think that's always the same answers, by the way. These ones are either this way or it's flipped the other way. But the answers are always going to be one or the other. It's never random for those either. Here, just because it's such tight quarters, I actually find it faster to just run than teleport, because you have to set up your teleport. It was pretty much right here. Right here, I was like, okay, I don't think I can world record, because it takes... This last part of the game takes 2 minutes. If you look at the top there, my PB is 2:06 as of my last run, and then my best is 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So going into that, I knew for a fact that it's going to take 2 minutes to beat the game, and if I'm at 54 minutes already, that I wasn't going to world record. But like I said, that didn't slow me down any, and it's going to be apparent here. You're going to see me pretty much fly to the end of the game at this point, because at this point I'm like, okay, I have a really, really, really good run at my hands, and I have to make it happen. To be honest, I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be. Like, sometimes when I was younger, I used to get like super anxious when I was like the last one alive playing Search and Destroy on Call of Duty and like doing amazing things in games. Here, I wasn't. Like, I was calm as hell, which doesn't make it any less important. It just means that I kind of controlled my emotions better, which is a good thing, because sometimes if you let your emotions come through, you tend to screw up a little bit more than you would. But yeah, this last part of the game, there's not really anything you can do to optimize it. You have to make sure you don't step in the goo, so it's easier to not teleport there. I could probably actually teleport as soon as I get around the first goo. Here, same thing. As long as you don't teleport past that, then you're fine. That answers in one of two spots. It's either the bottom one, which is what I was going to select, or it's in that one. So I assumed it was going to be in the bottom, but I actually memorized the numbers here. It's 1342. So if you just remember that, then you can mash it before it comes up. That way you get it at the earliest possible frame. And that's the only one that actually matters. So, and then you wait for it, and time right there, 56:04. 1 minute off of world record. Like, that shit's insane. Especially when I was coming from a 59 as my PB down to a 56. I saved 3 minutes over that run. And it all pretty much started with a good church segment. I don't think I had a really good run where I was saving time in the beginning and then had a really good church segment. Like, You Are Dead, I didn't really do anything special there. Apartments, I saved a lot of time, but it wasn't anything special. Take Me to Church is where it started off. I got first Cycle Priest, okay Cats, and then it just kind of picked up from there. Everything was pretty fluent and pretty good. So yeah, that was my 56:04. That's the second best time in the world, like I said, and that was my best run as of current. I'm still going to be working on it. I've actually taken a break for a little while. I had so many other projects I had to get done. With me recording this means I've finished the first major project that was stopping me from coming back, and now I'm going to be back into go mode, and I'm going to sit down and we're going to grind out. So the next video you'll see from me is actually me showing off the Judgment House clip, and then hopefully a sub 56 is what you're going to see next. And then after that, I'll jump into the other two categories. But I just want to do some commentary over this run. That way you guys had my my information, my opinion, and my thoughts over this run. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and say comment down below. Subscribe and share as well helps me out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.